After studying this module, you shall be able to understand about non-price competition, identify the relation between market structure and innovations, evaluate Schumpeterian paradigm, analyze the relation between market concentration and the incentives to invest. There are several dimensions and challenges of competition every firm has to face from its rivals in the market. The major one is non-price competition based on the factors other than price. This competition is most frequently due to technological advancements from new products, new techniques of production adopted, and constantly through improvements in the products. This is generated through research and development in the methods of production. The research and development ultimately leads towards improvements in methods of management of the firm. This process of technological changes is very crucial to face the constantly emerging challenges of competition. The eminent economist J. A. Schumpeter was the leading profounder of this view several decades ago. In non-price competition, research and development has always dynamic and more effective role to dominate and successfully face the challenges emerging from new products and also latest imbibed features with additionally more utilities for the consumers. The quality and cost plays major role in this process of competition of new products, forcing firms to seek cost-effective techniques and improved products. Thus, the qualitative studies of innovations become central approach for the economist. This discussion of the process of change is required to be elaborated in context of market structures. Now let us discuss about market structure and innovations. The leading economists always have been working on the relations between market structure and innovations, and intensive researchers in the process on the similar theory in industrial economics also. Economists are trying to identify the suitable market conditions for supporting and adaptation of innovations or the technological change in the economy. To study the economic behavior of the firms and industries, there is need to examine the determinants of research and development intensity in this environment. Components of market structure are important part of the determinants of research and development in the industrial economics. Two major components of market structure, such as degree of market power and size of the firm, plays determining role on research and development behavior of the firms and industries. Two extreme opposite market situations, such as perfect competition and monopoly, are analyzed to study the incentives of innovations. The famous economist Schumpeter was the first to propose a pro-monopolistic view of innovation. He emphasized that the firm that captured the lion's share of positive externalities would have the most incentive to innovate moving forward. Schumpeter aligned innovation with entrepreneurship, distinguishing between replicative entrepreneur who start ventures based on existing business models and innovative entrepreneur who upset or in modern tech speak disrupt the standard way of doing things. According to the Schumpeterian school, when a firm debuts an innovative product, technology or business strategy, others rush to adopt it, giving rise to inevitable copycats and driving down profit margins to unsustainable levels, which in turn provides the impetus for future innovations. He coined the term creative destruction to describe how innovative forces move through the business cycle. Initially, the thought of Schumpeter was not recognized by all the economists in one voice. But during the last several decades, with technology playing dominant role in the economy, now Schumpeter's theory is in focus deeply, and economists are divided into two schools of thoughts. One is the monopoly profit school and the second one is competitive pressure school. The monopoly profit school. The economist of this thought of school argues that as risk is associated with the innovations, it will not be undertaken in competitive markets where the gains from innovations will be for short period only. So the best suitable conditions for research and development activities are provided by the monopoly only, where market is highly concentrated. It is simple to understand the logics behind this. With the help of research and development or innovations, a firm can enjoy higher market power over its competitors. Firms would like to prolong its market power by performing innovational activities. Now, coming to the competitive pressure school. This school of thought does not agree to this above theory. This thought argues that in a competitive situation, there is no market power with the firms, hence they are prepared to avail a uniform normal rate of profit, so they have pressure for cost saving and hence there is inducement for innovations. There is inverse relationship between competitive pressure and market powers of the firm. Here it is emphasized that the rate of innovation is also inversely related to the degree of market power. Arrow, the leader of this thought, argued that the incentives to invent are stronger in competitive market because gain is maximum from cost-saving innovations in the competitive market. Now let us discuss about Schumpeterian paradigm. Though the period during which Austrian-American economist J. A. Schumpeter formed his visionary conclusions on research and development importance in first half of 20th century, when the scientific development and innovations were not as rapid as today, his writings were highly appreciated earlier too, but its relevance has immensely been applied more today with intensely developing world economies and industries moving steadily with new and latest techniques every day. The applicability of Schumpeter's work is much higher now than his era, that is 1883 to 1950. According to Schumpeter, consumers play a passive role in the process of economic development. These are the structural changes which play the role of leader here. In his renowned writings in Capitalism, Socialism and Democracy, Schumpeter propagated that innovation is the center for economic changes, which creates way of creative destruction. According to Schumpeter, innovation is the process of industrial alteration, in which destruction of old creates the way for the new one. He divides the process of innovation into 4 phases. The first one is invention. In the very first phase of this process, new technical ideas are generated and its subsequent development to a point where the conceptual and practical difficulties of its implementation have been overcome. An invention must have utility. An idea only needs to be proven workable. Economies are not benefited by the discoveries but from the invention of new product by using this invention. The second is innovation. In this phase of process, a firm refines and develops a product for commercial launch. In innovation, technical development is combined with marketing and entrepreneurial expertise. The company strives to produce a successful new product. The culmination of these efforts comes with the introduction of the product on the market by innovating firm. The third one is diffusion. Technological diffusion is the process by which innovations spread within and across economies. It is the application of innovations rather than generation of innovations that leads to the realization of benefits from technological advancement. In this phase, other firms come to know that innovation is fruitful. The fourth phase is that of imitation. In this fourth phase, other firms imitate the product or the process of new technology. According to Schumpeter, the first phase or the phase of invention or even the initial periods of innovation are of less influence, while the other two phases such as diffusion and imitation has greater impact on the economies. But from point of view of economic development, all the four phases of process have their own importance. According to Schumpeter, invention itself is not sufficient. Discovery and execution are entirely two different aspects. New idea is not adequate to lead to implementation. It must be taken by a powerful entrepreneur and implemented through perfect ability. It is not the power of ideas, but the power that gets things completed. Schumpeter argues that monopoly power and the firm size were more likely to encourage innovations in comparison to the conditions of competitive market. The Schumpeterian hypothesis tells us that there is a close relationship between innovation and the market structure. He believed that anyone who is seeking profit must innovate. Schumpeter considers innovation as an essential handler of competitiveness and economic dynamism. In his famous work, Theory of Economic Development, Schumpeter described development as driven by innovations which can be further divided into few parts. Number one, launch of a new product or service or a new type of existing product or service. Number two, application of new methods of production or sales of product. Number three, opening of new market. Number four, acquiring of new sources of supply of raw material or semi-finished goods. Number five, new industrial structures such as creation of destruction of a monopoly situation. The firms with large market power can strengthen the innovations. The innovation itself determines that a monopoly firm can bear the cost of research and development comfortably and can create a continuous process for regular innovations to take place. As a matter of fact, when a firm with the help of innovations achieves a dominating position in the market, will always continue its efforts to maintain its position through controlling and extending the period of benefit due to agreements with innovations and patents. Therefore, only the large firms are induced to seek innovation to increase and strengthen its market power. Only the entrepreneur with great inventive ideas can change the market scenario from static position to the new unexplored avenues. As a matter of fact, any innovation in the economy adds a qualitative improvement and thus decreases the cost of production. This situation induces future innovations in the market. Every phase of innovation process provides an opportunity to the dominant firm to monopolize and exploit the benefits of competition. That is to say, Schumpeter disconfirms the position of the classical economists who say that competition encourages performance. To achieve the goal, competitive firms always tend to decrease the cost of production and hence always give boost to innovations. But as a matter of fact, potentials of achieving monopoly profit induces firms to invest in research and development and to incite dynamic efficiency, which results into increase of capability of the firms to boost the innovations. Elaborating the proposition given by Schumpeter, we can remarkably find out that innovation is the only reason for the firms to depart from competitive balance of long period in which there is zero economic profit and they obtain, though temporarily, the most profitable position of the monopoly. In the 1940s, Schumpeter partially changed his opinion and advocated that the monopoly emerged by research and development likely to be a temporary position but can be converted into permanent as firms are encouraged to make their position strong enough through applications of intellectual property rights. That means through implementation of patent laws and some other barriers to entry. Further, through keeping out others from access to the new technology. Now let us have a look at a relation between market concentration and the incentives to innovate. To show the positive relationship between market concentration and the incentives to innovate, number of factors are there. As a matter of fact, these factors play an important role to describe the relation between market power and the incentive to invest. The first one is availability of finance. Firms in concentrated industries are better able to provide the resources for research and development than the firms in the competitive market because monopoly is associated with market concentration. High risk is involved in research and development, so firms prefer to provide finance for the purpose from its internal sources only. This is because external funds management is an expensive affair. Oligopolistic markets, which enjoy positive economic profit, can easily afford such funds which may not be available to the firms in highly competitive markets. So it is argued that more competitive markets undertake little or no research on their own. On the other hand, oligopolistic markets have sufficient resources to undertake the potential research and development. A very suitable example can be of agriculture sector, where competitive market is found. Most of the research activities are taken up by the government sector only. The second one is economies of scale. One of the possibilities involved in research activities in favor of large firms is economies of scale. When a minimum efficient scale for research exists, it may not be feasible for independent firms in competitive markets to further undertake efficient research and development work. In very rare circumstances, pooling of research is also suggested to overcome the problem of scale. But this situation is also not suitable as small firms have to face the problem of resources and huge amount is required for organization of joint research programs. So relatively large firms in more concentrated market can conduct the research and development programs efficiently. Sometimes when research projects are risky and expensive, even in the concentrated markets, firms conduct such programs of research jointly. This kind of cooperation is also in favor of the society, as in this way, duplication of research can be avoided. The third is protection of patents. Large firms earning positive profits are always in a position to protect their intellectual property rights in comparison to relatively small firms. As a matter of fact, these concentrated firms may be more interesting to undertake the research and development projects. The fourth is competitive strategy. Rapidly changing external environment in the field of innovation is a big challenge for the firms to form their competitive strategy. Firms in such environment are facing the competition not only from the existing competitors, but also they have to restrict the potential entrant. Firms in concentrated market with the help of more concentration on research and development can counter such competitions. The fifth factor is intensive research. In concentrated industries, where firms earn positive economic profit can hire the better qualified researcher to intensify the quality of research. More efficient researchers can be attracted in such markets. In this manner, firms can increase their research output with respect to per unit of resources. In other words, it can be concluded that cost-efficient research may take place in the economy. Apart from these positive relations between market concentration and innovation, few disadvantages of market concentrations are also there. Researchers are attracted to monopoly sectors not available to other sectors of the economy, which offers the socially advantageous research opportunities. Firms with monopoly power may be inefficient and fail to avail research opportunities and may not be able to conduct efficient research programs in comparison to competitive industry. The general notion of slack in concentrated markets suggests that in every concentrated markets, innovations may be approaching. Firms in concentrated markets may have fewer incentives to innovate. Arrow also argued the same view that an innovation produces only limited extra profit to the monopolist. Also, it is argued that firms in established monopoly position may also consider the cost of re-equipping their industry to take advantage of potential innovations and so may resist developing major innovations that might require such re-equipment. One of the possibilities is that in such concentrated industries, resources for research might be diverted from major to minor innovations. Sometimes even there is possibility that innovation may take place for improvement in style only. The major motive of innovation should be path breaking. Minor innovations are important only for the protection of established firms from the potential competitors. Minor innovations can create the barriers of entry for the new entrant. As a matter of fact, concentrated markets may have less incentives to innovate than competitive markets. Concentrated large firms are only in a better position in case of finance and other resources for research and can take research activities more frequently. On basis of these arguments, it can be said that a mixture of both types of markets, concentrated large firms and competitive small firms, is most favorable situation for innovations. But the degree of concentration should be moderate to favor research and development and innovations, while too much competition leads to less research activities. A little bit different thought is given by Kamenon. He argued that a great deal of research undertaken in industries is for product rather than process development. In fact, product differentiation plays a major role in research activities. He argued that markets can be divided into two parts. One is based on differentiation in product design, in which greater research activities are taken place, and another is that in which no such factor is there. He gave the examples of investment goods and consumer durables as the part of product differentiation and material inputs and non-durable consumer goods for similar goods. He established that research activities are higher in the industries where product differentiation is found, but even in such industries there is hardly any increase in the research activities with concentration. Now let us summarize what we have learned from this module. Today, technological advancements from new products and new techniques of production increases competition at the highest level and degree constantly generated through research and development in the methods of production. This process of technical changes is must to face the constantly emerging challenges of competition. J. Schumpeter was the premier and leading profounder of this view several decades ago in first half of 20th century. Schumpeter propagated that innovation is the center for economic changes, which creates way of creative destruction. According to Schumpeter, innovation is the process of industrial alteration, in which destruction of old creates a way for the new one. Firms with monopoly power may be inefficient and fail to avail research opportunities and may not be able to conduct efficient research programs in comparison to competitive industry. A little different thought came from Kamenov, that a great deal of research undertaken in industries is for product rather than process development. According to Kamenov, product differentiation plays major role in research activities. Undoubtedly, there are several reasons and grounds to believe what Schumpeter predicts has more relevance today in early part of 21st century as research and development leading towards innovation and scientific development significantly creates major impacts on market share, which Schumpeter visualized lion's share in the first half of the 20th century.